so we can get through the agenda. Now, first of all, we normally begin the meeting with a prayer, pledge of allegiance, and we always cite the NABVETS creed. We're going to dispense with those because of time, but we may want to discuss some of those because some folks may not want to do a prayer or whatever. That's not necessary, but the Pledge of Allegiance and the NABVETS creeds, as far as I'm concerned, is mandatory, but that's something that can be discussed when we get to the issue of the bylaws. Now, the first thing I want to do before Jeff does the official welcome and give the opening remarks, we want to go around the table for introductions, okay? And don't forget to sign in that sheet with all the contact information. It'll get around to everybody. Jeff, you want to begin? Well, first of all, I'm Clarence Davis. They refer to me as Tiger around this turf. United States Air Force, and I'm a graduate of Morgan State College and the university. This is why we get meetings space. Jeff?
I'm Jeff Arrington. I'm the State Vice Commander at PG County. Again, I'm prior Navy, so being in this building, I've been itching all morning since the Army.
So we're gonna call on Feather. Good morning, I'm Georgia East. I'm prior Army Airborne, and I am with the Georgia's chapter, and I'm the state secretary.
My name is James Bridell. I'm from Walker's Valley Chapter 0093 in Berlin, Maryland. I'm Army, Vietnam veteran, and sent my daughters to this great school.
Hey, you got some fine daughters, my brother.
Okay, I'm Bill Forbes, and on these hallowed grounds where we sit, I spent a few years here through the ROTC program, United States Army, Vietnam, member of the Baltimore chapter.
Good morning, my name is Robert Dye, I'm commander of Baltimore chapter 0053, retired Army, Vietnam veteran.
Now, well, they're for another meeting. We're going to get ours first. We'll get them at the end. No, yeah, you're next. You're next, yeah.
I'm Tony Shumpert. I'm out of APG or even Cecil County. I work at APG, but Cecil County. I'm a retired 24-year vet from the Army, 63 Bravo, and we're here to, we joined the group and we're here to get a chapter started here.
I'm Ron Jean. Again, we're looking at Northern Maryland 100, Chapter 100. We haven't got the charter yet, still working on it. We're out of APG. We want to provide service to the veterans up that area. Fill out a place. I'm a Marine. 26 years.
You're forgiven.
You are.
Good morning, I'm Commander Jamoy Mabutu, PG County, Chapter 0089. We can't help but say the Navy is in good standing here. I'm prior Navy.
Man, this is the first time I've seen this many Swabies together. All right, okay. Thank you all very much for the introduction. Now, we only have one chapter that's missing, and that is Southern Maryland. Okay, but Mike sent his regards, and I'm gonna turn the meeting over to Jeff for the official welcome.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Again, welcome. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their Saturday morning. I know it's been a hectic January with the weather being the way it is, and we had to push our meeting back. But thanks to everyone for reaccommodating your schedule and coming out to be with us this morning. I know you guys from Aberdeen, you guys came down, and thank you. Thanks, James, for coming way from out there where you are, out there in Berlin. You know, so again, we just want to, this is our first meeting for the State Council. As you can see, the chapters are starting to come along, we're starting to grow. We're looking at the possibility of adding on a couple more. So we need to get our state council running properly instead of just having a state commander running around trying to do everything, or a vice commander trying to do everything. We got us a secretary now, and we are going to be, hopefully, at the end of the day, we will have a treasurer. So, we do need a state person, someone to come in and to look at being the state treasurer as well. And one of our things that we are looking to do today is to try to get through some of our bylaws. By this being our first meeting, we just want to sit down and try to formulate how we're going to conduct business. We have to, between me and Tiger, we have to get around to visiting each chapter. Sometime we have to go up, we have to come up to Aberdeen, we have to go out to Berlin, we got to hit Southern Maryland, Baltimore, PG, whatever. But we have to hit all the chapters. We got people calling us all the time, inquiring about more chapters and what do they have to do to start chapters. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's why we need to just get things in motion and have everything going.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Now, most of you know NABVETS came together after Vietnam. It started off with a guy by the name of Thomas Wynn. We used to refer to him as the godfather of the Black Veterans Movement. He was in Milwaukee, and he saw the dire straits that Vietnam veterans was living in, and he saw the social psychological problems they was having. Nobody was dealing with it. And so by the end of the 1970s, that civic interest group had changed its name, and this is the beginning of NABVETS. Now, NABVETS over the years has worked to get the Health Care Amendments Act of 1979. I think Jimmy Carter signed it in June of 1979, which established the Veterans Outreach Program, or the Vet Center Program, so on and so forth. And I think it was about $25 million put into the effort to rehabilitate Vietnam veterans and to conduct the outreach to bring them in. Okay. NABVETS then began to grow. NABVETS does have a governmental liaisons person. His name is Joe Wynn in DC. So we do have access to the Capitol and access to Nancy Pelosi, Bonner, and some of the other appropriate people in Washington. But now, NABVETS was kind of an unwieldy organization initially, okay? And as it began to grow, it had to begin to take form, or a more professional form. And that's what has been happening over the past 10 years. So there may be some things that still need to be tweaked with regards to NABVETS, but this is an organization that can and should survive, because we deal with a constituency whose voice is not always heard properly, okay? And NABVETS, as you know, is a nonprofit organization. It's a 501c3, congressionally chartered. The way we operate here in Baltimore, we come under the nonprofit status of the national, which means we're covered with the IRS when it comes to contributions and things of that nature. Locally, chapters may vary somewhat in what they do. Here in Baltimore, we pull together several, well, first of all, we had a NABVETS chapter in 1980, but it kind of disappeared because we reached out to other groups to establish what we call the African American Patriots Consortium. And that consortium was bringing in plays like A Soldier Story, the Camp Logan incident, which some of you may know about, and NABVETS got lost in that African American Patriots Consortium. Then the movement kicked off again in Baltimore, led by Robert Guy, Rick Lane, and some others. And so NABVETS began to reemerge again, And of course, some of us in the Patriots Consortium considered ourselves as NABVETS anyway, okay? Because NABVETS here in Maryland, and some of us used to belong to the National Association of Concerned Veterans, NABVETS we used to call it. But NABVETS here in 1986 established its own holiday. As I was telling some of you before, you know, brothers were sitting around drinking and crying the blues about their service not being respected. And so I said, look, man, we don't need validation from nobody else. Let's validate ourselves. I said, let's call all the brothers and meet down at the War Memorial Building. Okay, now I was about 25 of us down there. Now that African American Patriots Day, and we called it Patriots Day for a particular reason, because in the African American community, people was down on, what are you over there killing yellow people for the white man for, and all that kind of old crap, right? And so we weren't getting the kind of respect, so we called it Patriots Day, the kind of like in your face kind of thing, right? And so now, 28 years later, we feed over 500 people at the War Memorial Building. About 200 of them will be youth, because our perpetual theme had been Save the Children, Save the Nation. Because NABVETS theme nationally was about positive lifestyles, and how can we have positive lifestyles if we don't do something about helping our kids? And so we adopted that. Now, one of the reasons we also adopted that was, you know, I was called to DC for a national security meeting. And at that meeting, I thought we was going to talk about airplanes, new equipment and stuff like this. They were talking about the kids. And they were saying, like, out of 10 kids, you know, less than 3 are eligible for military service because of obesity, the lack of education, or criminal records. And so more than 7 out of 10 kids were eliminated from military service right there. And that was the national security issue. And so we brought that back to Baltimore, and we started spreading the word all over the state that, look, we've got to do something about the kids. Now, what we did here in Baltimore, and we established what we call the Save the Children, Save the Nation Coalition. What we did, we targeted one community, and we targeted one specific group of kids, 7 to 14, because that's the way to reduce crime and stop producing criminals. And because after we had studied the community, what we found was that the institutions that served our generation were no longer there for the kids. Like, you know, right in the heart of that, you all will call it the wire. There was a music school. Mr. and Mrs. Holloman trained thousands of kids in music. Mac Lewis, you know, the boxing coach, comes home from World War II, establishes a gym with his own money, and take the kids off the street. Those, well, let me call them what they were. Took the thugs off the street and turned them into productive citizens. Most of us was happy because they weren't going around knocking us out, right? So we then looked at organizations like the Elks, who used to have a youth group. And they used to have a big parade. They don't even have a youth group anymore. We looked at some of the churches. You know, Children's Day used to be the biggest day for us kids in the community, because we all knew we was going to get that white suit and we was going to take charge of the church. Most churches, if they celebrate Children's Day now, it's very limited. And so when people began to chastise or dog out these kids, say, hey, wait a minute, no, these kids ain't got it made, because the community is not doing what it should do. I think once blacks began to participate in the electoral processes, they began to rely upon government as opposed to maintaining the institutions. And you know, they're in all of our community, the Masons, they always serve kids. And so Baltimore chose to go that route. And in fact, we give a check for $2,500 to $4,000 for that community, but we're also establishing after our programs, after school hour programs, and we're going to start a summer school this year for 6 weeks. So those are just things that we can do, but that's what's happening in the Baltimore area. And so one of the things, like I say, every group of NABVETS may find its niche somewhere else beyond the veterans community, but keep that positive lifestyle in mind, because it's consistent with our creed and consistent with why we've come together to help ourselves. So NABVETS is beginning to become more and more formalized, and that's a good thing. And so if you see any problems, bear with it, because remember, it's a growth thing. And I call it an organization in transition, and an organization whose time has come. Now, most of us belong, you know, like me, I'm VFW, I'm DVA, I'm American Legion, I belong to all of the organizations. But this is my baby. This is where I belong, because I ain't gonna never leave my old neighborhood, okay? I ain't never gonna leave it. So, hey, we digging in, and I call that the front lines, okay? I did community organization in Aberdeen back in 69 and 70, so I know that area well. I know most areas of the state well, and one of the things, if we're successful with what we do here in Baltimore, we want to try to move it elsewhere as well, because in every community you got the same organization. In this one area, we got 2 American Legion posts, we got a VFW post, we got at least 2 Elks Lodges, we got the Poets Athletic Club, and for those of you who don't know what that is, that's the Dunbar High School poets, you know, basketball kings, football kings, and all that kind of stuff. Well, we do put out strong students in academia, and so the Poets Athletic Club comes to the table. And there's some other groups too, and the idea was to get all of them working together with a specific targeted area and a specific targeted population. And Oliver was chosen because it's the heart and soul, you know, of East Baltimore. And so some other folks may want to get into something different with regards to the youth, but we will not have a society if we don't do something with the youth. And so basically, NABVETS has evolved, but every chapter might be somewhat different, okay? Now, that's kind of the history and the mission, and you will see the pains of struggle as we go through, okay? But what we're trying to do here is to eliminate some of those pains of struggle, because the way NABVETS is organized, we have chapters, but we have a state command, okay? And that gives us organization, because the state command can then communicate with the regional director. And then we have, I think Rich Cornegay, he's vice president at large perhaps, but he kind of like works with everything. He's a great guy. And he's a stickler for organizational structure, okay, because he's stone cold military now. Y'all know how the military is, but we can live with that. And so that's why we're here today. And as Jeff mentioned, we've got to begin by organizing all of our chapters into the Maryland Command Council. Jeff, anything you want to add to that?
Well, one of the things we need to do, we need to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music, okay? One of the big things that I've seen so far is whenever we're doing membership. Right now, membership, normally people, anybody who's applying for chapter membership, they would always go and they would send their information, their money, and their paperwork to region or to national. National would then send everybody their cards. That's not the correct process. Okay, so we need to make sure that everybody's on the same sheet of music. We were also directed to say, hey, how can national know who's in your organization, who's in your state, when region don't know who's in your state, or when the state don't know who's in the state. So we was directed, there is a proper flow, and we have to make sure everybody knows what that is. It sounds tedious, but it makes sense. Because if Director Kingsbury calls us and say, hey, why is it that you have such and such calling Wisconsin asking questions about the national or about what's going on in New York? We're like, huh? it's all a process. So we're gonna be going through all that stuff this morning. We're gonna try to get it real. This is our first one. We're gonna try to keep it quick and simple and painless as possible. We know we're on a timeline, so.
All right, any comments or questions at this particular point? Yes, sir.
When I didn't get the date for the national holiday that goes at the war memorial.
Oh, that's always the last Saturday in February, which will be the 22nd.
African American Patriots Day.
African American Patriots Day. It might be a little bit different this year. We normally start at 11 o'clock sharp, and we normally lay a wreath at the Monument to Black Soldiers at 12:30 sharp. You know, we leave the War Memorial Building. It's about a block march. We have drum and bugle corps, the whole works, and the youth group out of Aberdeen, you know, the challenge program. They will be here, and we always try to put the kids out front a little bit, you know, and we will lay that wreath at the Monument to the Black Soldiers. And oftentimes, you know, depending upon how many units are there, we mask the colors so we can take one of them beautiful pictures with the colors being masked at that monument. But that's what we normally do. This year, Sergeant Major Lewis Diggs, or First Sergeant Lewis Diggs, he was one of the ROTC instructors here. He is a member of the 231st Transportation Truck Company, which is the only Maryland National Guard unit to serve in Korea. And he wanted, this is their, I think he said their 60th anniversary, and he wanted to do something around that. So African American Patriots Day might be a little bit different this time, because there may be more history or what have you. One of our gospel groups, the Sensational Royal, what's the name? The Sensational Royal Lights, they're out near the Cambridge area. They're going to be coming up and doing kind of a gospel concert. And if they ain't never heard some of them brothers from the rural areas do the quartet, hey, they can get down. Okay, they have the kids jumping up and rocking, you know what I mean? So they will kind of like do an in-concert thing, because it's really more of a Maryland thing than it is just a simple Baltimore thing, because folks come from all over to participate in that, because I think black veterans are proud to have a day that's called their own. And once we build it up, I think it should be a national day during Black History Month. Okay, now, Vice Commander said, get your ass back to the agenda. I'm on the way. All right, okay. All right, we're going to dismiss with the NABVETS Creed. I think you all probably know what it is. If you don't, we'll get you some copies of it, okay? So what we want to do is kind of like get chapter updates to find out where everybody's at and what questions they may have. And I think we'll start over here on the right with Prince George's County.
Good morning, everyone. PG County is in the building capacity stage. We were officially chartered June 22nd, 2013. Our current membership base is 38 members. Just like any startup chapter, we, as Tiger mentioned, Commander mentioned, that our focus in 3 basic areas: training and education, health and wellness, and legislative agenda. But primarily, we're really looking at the health and wellness area. We have two pending projects. We're working on one of the projects that affects the state command. We're working on with Morgan State, a smoking cessation program, stop smoking program. One of the things we want to do, and I'm speaking with Commander Guy on it, we want to target a smoking group of veterans. We're working with the local professor here at Morgan State University, has a grant, essentially a $5 million grant. He has the most successful stop smoking program in the country. We want, obviously, a lot of our veterans are smokers, and we really want, and that's a tremendous health hazard that you will well know. But what we want to do, and I'm going to bring it forth to a commander, vice commander on the state level, and I've been communicating with Commander Guy. The initial pilot program we want to start here in Baltimore, because that's here what they call the Baltimore Mile. We need to identify 15 veterans, smokers, who want to quit smoking. There's a financial incentive involved each session. Essentially, it's a 5-week program. All the materials that are involved. One of the reason why this program is so successful is because it's a community-based program where all the trainers are from the community and you meet at a community location. You're not going to no hospital, you're not dealing with doctors and so forth. But I'm in communication with Commander Guy trying to get that started. But on the state level, we want to be able to bring to the state, have it in each of the various chapters. So that's something, so that's something we really want to push in 2014. I believe from the state commander that for all 5 of the Maryland chapters could adopt the same program. And eventually it can very well also be a situation you can get money for your chapter in terms of federal grant. So, but again, that's something we're working on at PG County. Again, we're going to be working with Commander Guy here in Baltimore to try to identify that. So one of the things that I would put out, if you know any veterans in this area who are smokers who want to stop smoking, you get in contact with myself or Commander Guy, because as soon as we get 15 veterans, we can start a class and get going with that. The other thing that we're working on at PG County is our nutrition program. We have, so those are 2 critical areas we believe that impact veterans in terms of our health, how we eat, and certainly how our health in terms of our smoking, because you know all the dangers that go along with smoking. But in our nutrition program, this is it is a fee-for-service program, but we're trying to work it where we could have it, the veterans could attend it for free. But one of the things that the outcome, besides learning how to eat well, you can also get certified as a nutrition assistant. And that's really the angle we're looking at. So you come in and get training, then you can go back and go, if you're looking for employment in this area, nutritional areas, that's the fastest growing area, health and wellness area. So we want to basically, and particularly our young veterans coming in, want to get a skill set to go back out in terms of a career. So those are 2 areas we're working on in our issue. But the biggest challenge for us, like all of us, as a startup chapter, is our members, getting our members engaged and keeping them engaged. So that's about it from us, Commander.
Okay, thank you very much. Ron?
Okay, we had our first council meeting yesterday. Thursday. And then basically we got Richard on the phone and talked to him about the charter. And he said he's working that, he's gonna call national and stuff and see what's going on with it. Some of the things, the fundraising and dues and stuff, I wish we would have talked to you before we did the $35 for the 2 years. Now we gotta go back to our chapter members next week and say, yo, maybe it's $35 a year, all right? So we start getting our cash set up there, because we don't have a dime right now. We're trying to get buildings, computers, supplies and stuff set up at APG. We still gotta talk to the garrison commander about getting those, if it's doable. Email address, Facebook, and training for the VSOs. Richard told us that after we get the chapter, that will happen. So we're still waiting on that. Wasn't sure if National has a setup where we feed in on their emails or Facebook, or they have a web page out there that would list all the chapters, and then from there we'd feed in, put our web so people can get in touch with us and stuff. I'm not sure.
They do have something, but it needs to be updated, it's very
Right,
weak.
we talked about that, because it's a good website, but some of it dated and some of the links and stuff you really can't get into. So, once we get our charter we'll talk a little bit more. Standing committees, we're trying to get people to chair those. We want to establish a few others. Want to run our existence in the local paper up there. We're trying to get hold of another person who worked for the VA doing claims, and she was outstanding, but she went back on active duty, so she let that go. So now she's working down in Edgewood area. We're trying to get her on board, so we've got all that knowledge and where we can help. Elections will go next week. We still gotta buy uniforms, business cards, and all that stuff, getting established. We wanna try to go out to the vets that are discouraged or have tried the system before and bring them back in. To try to encourage them, let them know that, you know, it's a process and it might stink, but we still have to go through that process. You can't just let them dump on you, all right, and suck it up, all right? You earned this, all right? Let's get your claim going again and call them, remind them, hey, you came in last week, anything? How can we help you? All right? If we need to go to their house and do paperwork or whatever there, then we'll do that. We're looking at trying to set up something so we look at the survivors. A lot of vets die and they don't have their stuff locked on, and the survivors are sitting there like, what do we do now? And the people that are out there that are supposed to be helping them, it's like any organization, some are very knowledgeable and some aren't. And the dependents are just left there floundering. How did they get the insurance money? How did they, you know, everything they need to know prior to the individual's passing. So we're trying to get some pamphlets and stuff made up. So when we do get off the ground, we start training in these particular areas. And we can hand something out for them, yeah. You know, when you die, yeah, your problems are gone. But your dependents are still here, man. And if you love them, you need to take care of them, even after you're gone.
That is right on point, because, you know, we're still trying to get information out to the spouses, you know, especially in Vietnam. We got people who passed away from illnesses that was associated with Agent Orange, but the veteran never filed a claim. And days gone by, the spouse then had no claim. But now the spouse does have a claim. And see, that kind of information never gets spread throughout the population that we're committed to dealing with. Okay, Rob.
So, Commander, I'm give my agents, what's the acronym and where you located at, Action City or?
APG.
Okay.
Should be, Northern Maryland?
Northern Maryland is what it's called. Now, I know I keep putting APG on there because
Right.
that's where
What's your
we,
name?
Ron Jean.
Ron Jean.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that we still, like I said, that we also want to try to do is specifically, I want to bring in professional people that will give us advice and to help our soldiers. In Cecil County and Harford County, I'm a musician and a maintenance guy and a logistician also. But one of the things I want to do is I want to contact, like in Cecil County, we have the only black prosecuting attorney there. And down in Harford County, we have a lot of upcoming legal people that would be willing to help us get some of these hurdles over with as far as helping our veterans with their legal process and things. I know we have the VA and we have, if you're retired, you can go on post and do all of that stuff. But I mean people that actually that we can touch on the ground and they can actually come out and visit, and we can set up a station and we can go there and be able to get all of their ducks in a row. We want to be able to make sure that those spouses know exactly what that process is. We're going to do scenario runs, walk them through the process. We're going to have mock scenarios where, okay, well, maybe my husband, he's not here, and I don't know how to obtain those documents that I need. and we're gonna sit down and walk them through the process. They're gonna actually go through it, not just give them a handout, any of that other stuff. Supposing that their loved one passed away, we'll have a mock funeral, we'll do all of these things so that they will be aware when the time comes, it's not a culture shock to them, especially the young people.
Very good, right on point, Tony. Let me ask you this, do you all have in either Harford County or Cecil County a Veterans Commission?
I'll have to check on that just to make sure, but I don't believe.
I know that there's a Veterans Commission in Prince George's, we have one in Baltimore. Baltimore County has a coordinating council, but that's one of the things we can talk about a little later on. Yeah, Colonel?
The first Veterans Commission in counties across Maryland was established in Harford County. And to my knowledge, it's still in existence. It's a very vibrant. Cecil County had one, was established, and I think it became defunct, but there's still interest up there to get that going. So the mechanisms are in place. Harford in particular is there, and so you've got something to work with there.
Yeah,
Well, I live in Cecil County.
one of the great things about having Colonel Forbes, you know, on the State Command Council, in addition to retiring as Lieutenant Colonel, he was also, well, he's been working in government for a long time, and he's also a former Deputy Secretary for the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs. Okay, and he has consented to work with us on our outreach and expanding our capacity. Okay, and from time to time, you'll get those little remarks from him because he knows what's going on. Robert Guy, Baltimore.
Baltimore chapter is involved in several things right now. Two closest things are events. We have the Buffalo Soldiers Award event, which is coming up on February 15th. I don't know if everybody's seen the flyer. Okay. So that's the first thing that's coming up for us right now. And that's something that's been going on for the last 16 years, 15 years, am I correct? And it's a big thing. It's a big thing in this region because it gives us an opportunity to showcase some of our heroes, you know. And so that's what we do. There's usually between 15 and 20 people that are on it at that event. The Buffalo Soldiers, they usually come in their full regalia. We have like different showcases throughout, you know. So it's a big thing for us, and so that's coming up. The next thing is Patriots Day, which is the following week. And Patriots Day is another thing, another event that we do that focus on history. One of the things that we try to do is keep our history up front. You know, we try to find the truth in the history to present it. You know, there's so much of our history that has either been shut down and hidden away. And what we try to do is find people who have researched the history of black troops, you know, and we showcase them, you know. And when I say black troops, it's not all black troops. It's those people who have worked with us, those people who have been a part of our growth, you know. So that they're the two events that we push every year, you know. So they're the first two things on our agenda for this year. The other thing was the smoking cessation that Labutu has talked about. So that's one of the other things. We're also operating with two other organizations that are doing stand-downs this year. The VFW, I'm working on a panel with them, and NABVETS will be a part of that, with VFW and also with United Way. The dates for those two stand-downs have not been locked in as of yet. One of them is gonna be a one-day stand down, and the United Way stand down is a collective thing. It's a stand down for the homeless with a veteran component to it, okay? Last year when we put it on, we had 3,000 people to come through. We had to actually turn away about 800 people at the end of the day, because we just didn't have enough time, enough people. I'm working with them now, because hopefully we can try to get them to do 2 stand downs. In other words, have one every 6 months. I think that would work out much better, okay? So we're working on that. And the biggest thing, which is ongoing, is the Save the Nation, Save the Children, Save the Nation project. And I think Tiger has pretty much expressed everything that we're doing with that. So that's pretty much the update for where we are right now.
All right, thank you, Commander Guy. I'm going to skip over Colonel Forbes and go to Berlin.
Good afternoon again. My name is James Bedell. I come from Walk Through the Valley, chapter 0093. We like to say that it's not the name of our chapter, but a testimony.
What was that, Walk Through the Valley?
Walk Through the Valley. Yes, sir. We actually started off about 4 or 5 years ago with just a group of Vietnam veterans that sort of realized that we were not being represented on Memorial Day Parade, and we started having floats. I was then introduced to the NABVETS, and we sort of evolved to it. I couldn't convince everybody to come over yet, but I will. Berlin's a little small town. When I got drafted in '69, we had 1 red light and 3 police officers. We now have 2 red lights and maybe 5 police officers. But we have probably 25 or 30 Vietnam veterans who were drafted during that era. And we don't know why yet, but we are wondering why there were so many from our little town, but we will find out. I did bring a copy of our roster. At the moment, we only have 14 members that are paid. We have several that I've let the meetings be open to them. We have several veterans who have come to both meetings. They're showing the interest, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to get them. One of the first things we did after we got chartered was we have adopted a little area in Berlin area called the Henry Park. So we've adopted the flower bed at the entrance, and the town has put up a little sign with the name of our chapter on it. We wanted to do something community-wise in our group, in our neighborhood, so that the community would, see us that way, even though our primary functions is for veterans organizations. We reached out to the Worcester County Board of Education. I attend each and every one of their Board of Education meetings. We've offered our assistance to them to help the youth. We have done several things before. We've always, anytime we come to Baltimore, if I come for a doctor's appointment for any other reason, I reach out to different veterans. I bring them to the VA. I try to get them signed up. I'll take them down to the federal building, help them get their claims filed. We want to get the training to be a VSO officer. Now I had one guy actually that I took up there, and he wanted to know where I'm going to send off his form, and I told him no. We let the VA, let the federal building do it, because it's more important that their claims get filed, and it doesn't matter to me who filed the claim, as long as the claims do get filed. Everywhere I go, I try to go as a representative of the NABVETS, even if I belong to the organization. For Veterans Day, my church had a program where they recognized all veterans. I went dressed to tell everyone who we were and so forth. On the first Sunday, I was present at the Emancipation Proclamation here in Baltimore, down on Utah Place at the Most Special Prince Hall Grand Lodge. This Monday coming, the Tri-County Council on the Eastern Shore has the Martin Luther King Jr. Banquet. It is probably the largest banquet in the state of Maryland. The first year, which was 29 years ago, we had 500. Last year, we had a small group. We only had 1,000. Usually, we have anywhere between 1,300 and 1,500 participants. We would also like to invite anyone there. We do have, I did get a letter from the mayor recognizing our council and the NABVETS, and he did his research and found out just who we were and everything, welcoming us to the community, and giving us their blessings. Our primary goals for our organization is VA health benefits. As I said, we take guys up and down the road. We have helped probably 10 guys get registered. We have one gentleman who also is a member, and he was his name is Terry Foreman. He was a homeless veteran. And when I started this group up, he was the first one to come to me with his money order saying, I want to be in. Last month, we was able to connect him with a group that my church works through called Zion House, and they received a grant for helping Vietnam veterans. I mean, not Vietnam, helping veterans, of all veterans. And so Terry was placed in his own apartment. The church grant paid 3 months rent for him, got him some furniture, and some other things. And we have another group in the Ocean City area called Nicocomedes, name I can't pronounce, but they also have a grant. So we have 2 groups there that have a grant. I know my church has at the moment $300,000. And we are on an outreach program for them that if we can find homeless veterans in need, that we can put them in touch with them, and they will see to it that they get some financial aid. So this is some of the things we do. I did have a couple of questions. One was, we've never received membership cards. None of my members have, and so we got chartered in October. It's not a pressing issue, but belonging to other organizations, I know the value of having my cards when I walk in somewhere.
That's a major issue also with the Baltimore chapter.
I think for all chapters.
Well, let me say all chapters.
Who don't have?
There's still some of the newer people.
Yeah, let me show
If
you.
they can give me a listing of the names, I could get those.
Well, I think we need to let each chapter deal with those membership cards individually. This is what a membership card looks like. Okay, the old ones. This is what the old ones look like. Okay.
But anyway.
You all have received yours?
Some people in PG County had got theirs.
Okay. Then this is an issue we need to take up with,
That's why I say these.
okay.
I like those better.
You like the old ones better. This is the new one. It has stuff on the back. This is the old one. Looks almost like a credit card, okay?
Those ones are better.
But he likes the old ones. But if you have not, if you're having trouble receiving your membership cards, we're going to have a membership person established here at the state level. And then, once we get the bylaws squared away, and they can help you up to that particular point, let your membership chairperson continue to deal with the region or the national, okay? But we will have a membership chairperson here that will deal with chapter memberships as opposed to individuals. And they will then try to work out those problems or help the individual chapters, okay? Good report, but go ahead.
Also, we don't, I know you two are gonna work on bylaws, but I don't have a copy of the national bylaws.
I'll get, let me make a note of that. You need copies,
I need copies of the national bylaws.
the national and the recommended local,
Yes, sir.
okay?
I've had people ask me, some of my members right away, or potential members.
I'll get you the template, huh? Yeah, I've got the templates for national
And,
and local.
also, I talked with, in one of the conversations that I had with State Commander, Arrington, we were talking about, he mentioned something to me about uniforms.
Yeah.
Right now, we have to go through, Mr. Moore. I'd ordered some things, I sent the letter and the check, and it came back, so, maybe I didn't have the right address or what, but, we need, to get uniforms. And also, I wanted to get us a banner made. But I don't know if I can just take the NABVETS logo
Rob,
and
do
use
you
it, or do I
have
have
our
to get
banner with
permission?
you?
It's over in the room.
Yeah.
Is it put up already?
No, I don't think so.
So, but,
While he's talking.
yeah,
I'll get
but
the banner.
what my question was, with the NABVETS logo, is it a copyright or something, or can I just take it through my printer or to, I have someone who'll do the banner, the Board of Ed will do it for me, but I didn't want to use the logo without permission, I don't know what the setup is on.
Yeah, because you fall under the national, now you're allowed to use the
I
logo.
can use that logo.
Yes.
Yeah, you mean something like this?
Yes, sir, that's what I want to do.
Is that
But,
okay?
but he clustered it with the
Like
logo.
that.
And then so, and also what I wanted to ask with the logo,
Logo and all that.
did, some of my members have said, when I told them what the cost of mine, and I just bought the shirt, did, I was up to the shirt and the bag and the hat and so forth. I think I spent, well, my wife spent close to $100 because we was working on her checkbook that day. And,
Good man.
yeah, I worked it that day. But, it seems like it was kind of expensive for just a short sleeve shirt. We have a group in the OC monogram, they do the monograms for other organizations that we do. And that's why I was asking about the logo. If I go to them, if they can do the logo, then we could probably.
No, that's a problem,
Okay.
but it's something that I think this command council should deal with. Okay, let's go on and get squared away, because I did have that problem, because I know at the end of our regional meeting, they were selling them cheaper.
Let me talk.
You know what?
Let me talk.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, in regards to the uniform, I've been talking to a lot of people about the uniform. I even talked to the guys down in North Carolina, as well as Mr. Kingsbury, Director Kingsbury, about it. The uniform issue, they came out and they said, okay, we will start using these two individuals, Mr. Moore and Mr. Spann, out of North Carolina, because they went to a national meeting. They had a national convention one year, and they had members walking around in the black uniform. They had people dressed in white uniform. They had people wearing some everything, and they all had NABVETS logos and stuff like that. So they said, okay, we're gonna start going to one uniform. And these two guys came out with, or one of them, well, both of them together, they was working together and they came out with the logo and the uniform. And National said, that's great, that's what we're gonna start using. And when PG stood up and we was looking at it, and we started looking at the pricing, some of our members said this is quite expensive, especially when you're trying to buy different things. And when you start looking at different pieces, it does get expensive. I know Georgia, she went out, Ms. Eves, she went out and she had found through her research that we could buy the shirts in bulk and we can have our own person put the logos on, and we could charge our members a lot less than what they was charging. So, thing is, like they said, they wanted to keep things consistent. They wanted to have everybody in the same walking suits. They wanted to have people in the same polos, same hats, and not, you know, deviate. It is an issue with the cost. I have been working with them, because depending on who you go through, if you go through Mr. Moore, he's gonna charge you one price, and if you go through Mr. Spann, he's gonna charge you another price. They are competing somewhat against each other, even though they both work together. But we are in that process of trying to work with the uniforms. Like Tiger just said, we're gonna look at it again at the state level, because if we could do this and make it more affordable, because everybody is not sitting on the gold mine. Everybody can't sit here and drop off $150 just for some NABVET pieces that they're gonna wear once a month or whatever. So we need to be able to come to a better agreement on that. And that's one of the things that we need to tackle as a state council, so we can determine what's best for our members of the state.
I say something, even with all of that, they authorized us to go out and purchase, but if we did, we had to send them to them for the embroidery on the shirt, because you know, black polo is a black polo, so it wasn't nothing great about that, but they want us to send them the item, and then they would do all the embroidery on it. The walking suits, I thought they would charge, what, $100 for the walking suit? And I found $39.99, three suit. But they said, and they said you can go out and buy any outfit you want, but they had to do the embroidery. And I thought that was like a real.
Yeah, this is why you see me with this shirt on, because we did our own shirts before we went through that process. because they said we couldn't use the logo. Okay.
And that
Yes,
was the
sir.
question I had because when I was up there, they had several different styles of shirts
Yep.
to wear. And, like I say, when I went to price me, like the walk suit, you would be dressed, the walk suit like $110. The shirt was $37, so right away my fifth grade math kid, I could get 3 shirts and buy my own black pants. But the question is that when we address the issue, and I know it's going to have to go to national, that they should set a standard for the uniform. And then if they say we have to wear a certain type of shirt or a certain type of polo, but what I want to do is I'm confused about why I just can't put the logo on the shirt. If her shirt's different from mine, everybody in here shirt seems somewhat different from the other. So Mr. Stam and Mr. Moore have a monopoly on it, but they are selling any type of shirt or suit as they see fit, and then we're being told this is what you have to buy.
Well, now we have issues.
Who owns the copyright? NABVET.
NABVETS.
NABVETS on the copyright,
Yeah.
but however, they were given the authorization or the authority to be the uniform.
They are the national uniform
Right.
people. They are national uniform.
But now, that is something that the state command can work on,
Yes.
because we're going to become a little bit more powerful. Now, we appreciate that. Now, don't forget, anything we miss here, send it in. Georgia Eves is the secretary, and she will be disseminating information. Let's try to work it through that little system. But we got a couple other reports.
I have an email problem. It seems like I'm not getting my emails.
No, that was mine. We
You know
straightened
what?
that out.
We already straightened it out. The problem was they had
I
senior
have
at
put
the end of
senior
your
on
name,
yours.
Okay,
and I told them to take it off.
all right.
So-
Well, but what I was gonna do is, can we open up, can I open an email account on the Walkthrough Valley? And then it'd be available for this stuff to be available to my secretary or my vice commander. Any one of the 3 of us can just go in
Yeah.
and but I don't wanna do it without permission.
No, you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah, just-
I worried him about a lot of information that I need to know.
Look,
We wanna
let me
stay
say
in line.
this so you all understand how we operate. I'm the state commander, but our vice commander generally runs everything. Okay? So you go through him on anything, and he's really kind of guiding a lot of things, okay? All right. So now, we're gonna have 2 quick reports because we want to get to certain things and wrap up as close to noon as possible. Jeff, give them a little idea of what's happening in Southern Maryland.
Down in Southern Maryland, Mike Moses and what they're doing is they're working with some of the local colleges down there. There was a lot of veterans coming back from Afghanistan, Iraq. These guys was wandering around the college campuses. They were not being supported. The professors in the classrooms didn't know how to deal with these veterans. So what they're doing is they went out, they partnered with DAV. They set a DAV vehicle out on the campus. They got an office down there. So therefore, when veterans come in and they walk on board the campus or whatever, they can see, hey, wait a minute, this is a veteran organization. They can go out, they talking to the professors, and the professors now have a better understanding of what to deal with, how to deal with these veterans that come in the classroom. Guys, when they go on break, they know, hey, I could go over here and talk to these vets. There's people over here like me, not these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, or even though I'm a 20-year-old kid, you know, these other guys aren't, you know, they haven't experienced what I experienced. So that's one of the things they're doing. He also has a bunch of YouTube videos out that he's been producing, and is dealing with veterans and what type of things they're going through and what's going on at school. I will get the email address to a lot of that stuff that he's doing, his YouTube videos, and put those out. But it's pretty interesting, and you can go on and look. Okay.
And it's very good. Now, look, I had asked Colonel Forbes to tell us about outreach, but if you allow me, because I got to wrap this up, because NABVETS Prince George's County is going to meet in this room, and Baltimore meets across the hall. So those meetings are scheduled to start at noon. But we do need to get to some of these items on the agenda, so I might be cutting some things short. Colonel Forbes has been out he knows everybody in this state. And there are folk in Annapolis who want to start up a chapter. There are folk in Cambridge who wants to start up a chapter. Northern Virginia, 2 days after I had a heart attack, I was supposed to speak to them down there. The whole thing, it's growing. So that's outreach, okay? And I'll just leave that there because we want to get to the state meetings when we meet and the bylaws. Now, we can't do anything on the bylaws today. I did, look, they were so thick, I wasn't gonna run all these off, right? But look, you got yours in the bylaws. You all will receive this on your email because I sent it out about 5 o'clock this morning. Okay, I think it was about 5 o'clock this morning. And if you don't get it, contact Jeff because that's how I got the right one on you because he told me I had the wrong email. And I'm thinking I'm communicating with you, right? Dang, he never called me back. He never get back. But I did have that SR on there. Now what we want to do with the bylaws, and want everyone to look over the bylaws. These are North Carolina State Command bylaws.
What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna draft up some Maryland bylaws for the state. Once I draft these up, I'm gonna shoot them up to Tiger, let him look at them, and then he's gonna disperse them to the council.
Sure,
Okay.
this person.
Georgia will disperse them to the council, I'm sorry.
In fact, let's do it this way. Why don't you draft them up and then just go ahead, disperse them, and then let them comment on it. I
Let
don't have
everybody
to get it
comment,
first.
yeah.
Okay.
So we'll shoot it out to everybody, then everybody will be able to comment. One of the things, again, we need to start, we want to be able to get this rolling and hopping. A lot of this stuff, I'm not going to be requiring people to be submitting money to the state off the bat. We're supposed to, but I'm not. I'm going to try to get up to Aberdeen sometime or another. I've been saying I was going to head out to Berlin, you know. So next week, they have the regional quarterly meeting. It's down in Jackson, North Carolina.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Is it Jacksonville or Jackson?
Jacksonville.
See, I was told it was in Fayetteville. They changed them. Jacksonville is on the coast. That's totally different.
It's 7-mile drive, like I said, it's 7 miles.
Okay, so now I need to,
Is that next week?
Next Saturday.
Saturday.
25th.
next Saturday.
All right, look, let me do this piece by piece and get it out of the way. Okay, the state meetings and bylaws, boom, we know how we're gonna deal with that. Finance and state command, immediate and long-term, everybody submit some recommendations to Jeff, and make sure you send copies to Georgia, okay? But because we want to try to wrap this up. Now, we're on the regional meetings, and I think we need to see who's going to be able to go to the regional meeting in Jacksonville. That's a 7-mile, maybe 10-minute drive, according to
Where people
MapQuest.
drive.
Okay? The meeting lasts only about 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and a half. That's a long ways to go for a 2.5-hour meeting. So I had told them, I said, look, with all the Black History Month stuff we're working on now, I can't do that, okay? Jeff thought it was Fayetteville, and he thought, well, that's a 5-hour jump, we can make that.
I can do Fayetteville, but now I need to change because my driving partner, I need to change. I was giving somebody a ride to Fayetteville. Can't do that now. Jacksonville, I need to switch.
All right, so will anyone try to make that Jacksonville? That's what we're trying to do. You two are going?
3 of us from PT County, 5 of us from PT County are going.
Okay, then Jeff and I would like to talk to you all sometime during the week, okay? Just in case.
Well, I'll talk to you. We'll talk offline.
All right, good enough.
National Convention, that's in August, but we got plenty of time to deal with that up in New York. But we got time to put more information out about that. And if you haven't seen the emails, we'll make sure that you do get that email.
Okay, because, look, the emails are out on national. It'll be coming from Whitney Clinton, I think is her name, right?
Yeah.
All right, now, we'll resend these okay, all right? And that will kind of give you more information on the national. Now, one of the other things I know we need to deal with is when do we have our next meeting? Because there are things that need to be reported on, like the bylaws, et cetera. I think maybe April. Is that too soon or is it too far away? Okay. And
Probably.
yeah, you the one that travels the farthest now. You
Yeah, but
you
I
can
can
party.
Yeah, but I can come like, every other month or something. I mean, I have to keep, if I don't keep my meetings close together, things get away from me. So, I mean,
Oh,
not that
okay.
I'm trying to, anyone else, but
So you March or
yeah, it's fine with me.
all right.
Down the road.
Okay, all right. What Saturday, March? I know you all meet the first Saturday. Baltimore meets the third Saturday. When do you all meet during the week, don't you? Okay, all right. So, anybody wanna host the meeting? Aberdeen Proving Grounds, well, a little hard to get on the proving grounds sometimes. Look, we can have the meeting here if you want. Okay?
What do we have to do to host a meeting? Just provide a meeting place and some refreshments and so forth, or?
Yeah, we're trying to work out the refreshments thing. I just sent my son to get some stuff today because I said, wait a minute, hold it. A little slow here. I say, people gonna be traveling a long way, they gotta have some coffee or something when they get here, you know what I mean? So, what we were I was trying to get the meeting place in Annapolis, which was more centrally located. Then once you cross the bridge, you're there. That saves you 45 minutes to an hour, okay? And it's only about, a little over an hour for you. Prince George's County, no problem. Baltimore, no problem. You wanna do that? Wanna see if we can find a place in March? And because it's very possible we can get the House of Delegates, a meeting room in the House of Delegates, okay? In Annapolis, okay? Let me just put that, but now, what would be the date? The second and the fourth Saturdays of March are open because they're not any of our chapter's regular meeting. Shall we say the fourth Saturday?
22nd. What day is
You
that?
wanna do it the third or the fifth Saturday?
No, you can't do it the third.
How about the fifth?
No, I
Saturday?
just gave them to you. We either
The
gotta do
first
the
Saturday
I
is-
second,
said, how about
PJ.
the fifth Saturday?
the
That's what I said.
second or the third. Well, we wanna try the second or the fourth. We wanna try to keep it consistent. And if you say five,
Yeah.
we don't always have that. So, what we're looking at is the second or the fourth. Shall we go with the fourth?
I'm fine with that, Commander.
All right,
You mean
we'll
the first
go
and the
with the
fourth, right?
fourth Saturday.
You talking about the fourth Saturday of
In
every
Every month.
No, not every month.
every other month.
Every other month.
However often we meet.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, every other
Yeah.
month.
Or whenever we meet, it will be on the fourth Saturday.
Are we okay
So
on
you're
that?
talking about March the 22nd?
Oh, my wife's.
Yes, March the 22nd.
Oh, you gonna put something else on your wife's day, huh?
That's the fourth, that's the
Mhm.
fourth.
March the 22nd is the fourth Saturday.
So
All right, are we all okay on that? And what we wanna do is to try to do it in Annapolis, which is a centrally located place. We're okay on that?
So we're looking at March and May, right?
March
May, like every
and
other
May,
month.
okay? All right, that will be good because I think the quarterly meeting for, the next quarterly meeting will be in, April. And then I think they have one in June. Okay, now, one of the things we may want to do is to host the quarterly
One of them
meeting.
come up here.
Let them
Yeah.
come up here a little bit, or Northern Virginia, or whatever, okay? Because we do have two chapters in Northern Virginia that needs to be rejuvenated, so to speak.
I have
Okay,
something I'd like to put on everybody's mind.
yeah, please.
On Memorial Day weekend, Berlin has a big parade, and then we have like just a big thing with food, et cetera, there. And we used to do it a lot when I was young. They stopped. We've been doing it every year. now for like 15 years. It comes right through the community. It's only about 1.5 miles long. American Legion shows up, VFW, a lot of other groups. I want to put on the mind now of our state command that you might want to consider coming down. We started when the local high schools come down to the American Legion. My vice commander, Xander Baker, we put up a big tent. We feed all veterans. We've done this every year, but if the state command could consider it, to come down and be a part of it, if you let me know, I'll get transportation so you don't have to march. Cause we don't march.
Let me do this, Brother Bedell. Love to come, all right? One of the problems some of the folks may have is they already have established Memorial Day type things, but we know this in advance now, so we can always say no to certain kind of things. I love to come down. I've been down to Duncan Shower,
Right.
and of course I call it Showell, and fraternized with Brittingham's and all of them in many a year, okay? But that's, plus we go gambling down there too. All right, okay. All right, but look, we can get down there, some of us, okay? But send it in an email, and notify everybody, okay? But if you get it to the secretary, she'll kinda, dispense it, okay?
One more thing for the close.
Yeah.
Also, for fundraisers, especially like the newer chapters, you guys can work on fundraisers for your chapter and whatnot. And one of the things that we had brought up in Prince George's that I said we was gonna take it statewide is sometime this year we are going to work on a national barbecue cook-off. We're gonna contact, I'm in the process now of talking to several of the large charcoal companies and whatnot, the barbecue pit masters. And we're gonna, I know DC does it, they have a big cook-off every year. And we want to hold it here in the state of Maryland. With the money that we charge to enter, entrance fee, we can have a nice large grand prize. And the proceeds, at first we was gonna do strictly PG County, but PG said, let's open it up statewide. So when everybody come to it for the state, every chapter can get a piece of the pie. So I think it'll be a huge fundraiser. It's something that anybody can get into. We can have some very nice prizes, like the first prize would be a grill, everybody get an apron or whatever. And we could put whatever we want to put on it, NABVETS, first annual cook-off, barbecue, whatever we want to put on it. And we can invite various judges to come in. But that's just something I wanted to put out there on your mind to let you know what I'm thinking about from the state level that's gonna really generate some money. So, but if you guys have any type of ideas like that, that you wanna share with the state, that we can do to bring all the chapters money, or you could do your own stuff local. So you can start generating funds for yourself in addition to trying to get membership money. Believe me, you're gonna need to be able to generate some type of fundraisers.
Okay, now look, as a wrap up, next meeting, we need to try to approve the bylaws by the next meeting. So when you get a response from Jeff, please respond expeditiously, because we need to establish officers, committee assignments, and we need to discuss finances at that particular meeting. So our agenda is set for us as we try to pull this together. We will also need to discuss participation in regional meetings. And we need to discuss participation in the national convention. That's in March, because remember the national convention will be this summer in New York. So we have a big, heavy agenda for the next meeting, which will be Saturday, the 4th. I'm sorry, the 4th Saturday, the 22nd, okay?
And what would
Now,
same time, Commander?
what would be a good time for Annapolis?
No.
We're not relegated to 10:30 or
No.
noon?
No.
All right, you got that,
Cause I had a
Madam-
problem getting up this morning.
You got a problem, you got that, Madam Chair, no? On
It
the
gives people that's
22nd.
out time to get up, and they ain't got to leave at $0.30 to drive here. Also, just to tell on what he just said, when we go to national, one of the things I had talked to, when we had the convention here in Townsend, we had broached the idea of bringing the next national in 2016 to the DC area. We wanted to host it down at the National Harbor in Maryland. And they said, that's a great idea, but one of the things we have to do is they will, toward the end of the national convention, they will have a session where you stand up and you make the nomination. And then they will go and they will vote on it at that point. So that's one of the things that we will be talking about. So whoever, when we go to national, we can put that out there, that, you know, we do want to host it in the state of Maryland.
Is National always in office?
Pretty much.
Thereabout. October has been another date. I think New York is probably, I don't know whether it's cheaper that time of the year or not, but that's a great group they have up in New York. So I don't know why it's not in October, when it normally is. Because remember, this is the way it operates. One year you have a national convention, the next year is the regional convention, then it reverts back to the national convention. But if there's nothing else, now you all know we have kind of a chain of command, and you can deal with that. Try to submit everything through the secretary, and Jeff and I will get it, okay? Any other issues the commanders have, you know, let's start communicating, talking to each other. Our schedule here in Baltimore will be heavy all the way through the end of February, because like I said, we have two major events. The 14th Annual Buffalo Soldiers Memorial Banquet, and I'll send you all information, and we hope that you can support that, because it would be good to have all of our NABVETS leaders, you know, at one table, okay, or what have you. But, you know, look, ask your members to support it, because one of the things we want to do is to support each other, okay? And then, of course, on the 22nd, that is free, okay? That is free, and that will be a big celebration at the War Memorial Building. We'll do what we have to do inside, lay a wreath at the monument to black soldiers, then come back in and fellowship over some good food. Any other questions before I call for a motion for adjournment?
Roster.
Yeah, I didn't get to sign it.
It was,
Yeah, make sure everybody signed in.
Could I
Now,
get everybody to sign this for me so I can know who's speaking?
okay. Now, NABVETS, Prince George's County will be meeting in this room. NABVETS Baltimore will be meeting across the hall. So, if you want, if it's okay with Commander, for some of our folks from other regions to walk in and say hello to our folks, hey, we'd love that. Okay? Chair call for a motion for adjournment. Oh, well, I'm sorry, oh, he called for the motion.
yeah.
Second.
Motion been properly made and second that the meeting be adjourned. Thank you all.